So, hello all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I've been kind of sick the past week. Bear with me, I still got the cough, change effects of the weather, sinus cold, certain things going on in this month of September. I was talking about a couple weeks ago. We're getting back on Keeper, and we'll be on chapter 12 today. Just waiting on some more people to come in. I know a lot of views and things has been dropped because I haven't been on lately. Certain different projects coming up, certain things, people sick. So it's been a lot of things happening for this month of September for me. Stay tuned for more of that. Whoever just come in, come back and say a warm hello. Just waiting on more people to come in. And we'll get started on story time. My camera looks a little dark, so I apologize for that. It's the lighting effect in my window, so it makes it kind of cloudy, fuzzy, man. See if this will help with some. I doubt it, but that's a little better. Hope y'all had a great week. How's everyone's week so far? Make sure you can comment. Share some of your excitement and fun and goals that you might have accomplished. We're going to be on chapter 12 talking about the character Josephine in this chapter. Hello, welcome to my live stream. Be sure to say a friendly hello so I know who's coming on. Make sure you hit the like button. On Fridays, I usually do story time when I'm able, between my other part of busy schedule, getting on. This is a book called Keeper, and the theme is called Magic Always Leaves a Mark. And the author is by Kim Chance. If you haven't ordered you a copy, make sure you order you copies for young adults, fantasy. It's magical. The Seeker's out. It come out September 10th. So you'll have to read the Keeper before you know what's going on in Seeker. I'm just waiting on more people to come on. It's probably a little earlier than usual than some people. Some people's time zone is different than mine. It's 2:10 on my end. And we're on chapter 12. The rain had slowed. Lines of pale moonlight streamed through the clouds, bathing the room in pools of silver. Light dawn was not far away. They needed to move. With the storm dissipating, Josephine knew time was running out. But as she traced delicate patterns on Henry's bare chest with her fingertips, all she could concentrate on was the rhythmic rise and fall of his breathing. Having him beside her was more than she ever thought possible, and the last 4 hours had been a welcome reprieve from the grief and fear that now crept back to claim her again. Henry swore to protect her, to keep her safe from all harm, and as she laid wrapped in the warmth of his arms, she wanted to believe he would do just that. But the amulet that pulsed at her throat was a reminder enough that there were forces at work much bigger than even the best of her intentions. Make sure you all hit the like button when you come in and say hello. She had to tell him he had to know what he was getting involved with. that he was risking his own life every second he stayed with her. Her previous attempt had been a disastrous failure, but there was still time. If she was being honest with herself, she thought of telling him the truth. Telling him the one secret she had sworn she would never tell was terrifying. But after the days of running and the hours spent wrapped in his arms, she was more afraid of not having him by her side. "Henry," she whispered, gathering her courage. "Henry." She shook his shoulder. He opened his eyes and gave her a sleepy smile. "I thought it was a dream." Before she had time to respond, Henry grabbed her and pulled her back down on his chest, kissing her passionately. "Henry, Josephine," gasped in between kisses, trying hard to balance her giggling and the need for oxygen. When he released her, he was grinning like a madman, and Josephine couldn't help but laugh harder. He tried to reach for her again, but she swatted his hands away. "Wait," she tried again. "We have to talk. I need to tell—" But the words died in her throat as the sound of horses broke through the stillness of the night. Josephine leaped to her feet. Henry was at her side, pulling his tunic back over his head with one hand, throwing their small store of supplies in one of the burlap potato sacks with the other. "Oh, God," Josephine whispered, the blood draining from her face. "Oh, God, Henry, he found us." She yanked her clothes into place, pulled Henry from the cabin into the trees. She stumbled over the uneven ground and the large roots from the trees. If it weren't for Henry gripping her elbow, she would have surely fallen. Everything around her was fuzzy. "He found us." The words, like a mantra, played over and over in her head. Henry screamed at her, but the sound was distorted, and she couldn't make out his words. The only thing that made sense was a circle, a black horseman, moving toward them. It was too late. They were surrounded. Josephine stood rooted to the ground, every fiber of her being screaming for her to run. But there was nowhere to go. There was a sharp grappling as Henry was yanked from her side. "Joe!" Henry screamed, thrashing around in the arms of the men who held him captive. "Joe!" His frantic cries snapped her out of her daze. "Stop! Stop!" she cried, throwing herself into the center of the circle. "Please don't hurt him." A man wearing a long, dark overcoat moved toward her. His tanned face was twisted into a menacing sneer, and his eyes, almost the same color as his jet black hair, were trained upon her face. Dark shadows clung to him as he walked, and the forest itself seemed to bend beneath his darkness. The fingers of his magic clawed toward her, clearing through the night, and Josephine's heart nearly stopped as the weight of his darkness settled around her. Her body recoiled as the shadows danced around her, sending shivers creeping along her spine. In extremities, death incarnate had found her. The master. The amulet around her neck began to vibrate, its gentle hum a reminder to stand strong. "Don't be afraid, Joe. Don't be afraid." "Give it to me," he sneered, holding out his hand. His cold slate-colored eyes were narrowed in disgust. Somehow she found her voice. "I don't know what you're talking about." Faster than lightning, the man struck her across the face, knocking her to the ground. "Don't lie to me, you foolish girl. I know you have it, and I want it." For a moment she couldn't move. Her head throbbed and her cheek was on fire. Henry was still yelling, but the men who held his arms managed to keep him secure between them. My lord, one of the other men came forward, a black tattoo, the same one she's seen on the man who burned her house to the ground, covered in his forearm. It's not here. We searched the cabin, but didn't find it. The master nodded his head before turning back to glare at Josephine, grabbing her by the hair. He yanked her to her knees. The pain was so intense that black spots dotted her vision, and she cried out in pain. Tell us, girl, where is the book? He roared, his voice echoing across the trees. As Josephine looked up into his angry face, all she could think about was the fact that this was the one responsible for murdering her entire family. The master. Those two words burned her to the core, and anger coursed like venom through her veins. You'll have to kill me first, she spat through the clenched teeth. The master laughed, the same cruel laughter that had taunted her the night of the fire. Oh, that can be arranged, little witch. But first he glanced over at Henry and grinned. Bring him here. Josephine's heart nearly stopped as the two men holding Henry moved toward her, yanking him between them. They forced him to his knees in front of the master, who pulled a long dagger from the folds of his coat. With a sinister grin, be placed the blade across Henry's throat. The sight of the blade at his throat made Josephine's knees wobble, but she forced her face to remain neutral, allowing only the anger to show. Stay calm. You can save him. Just stay calm. What about now, little witch? Care to change your mind? Witch? Witch? Henry's eyes were wide. Josephine, what's going on? Who are these men? His words pierced her heart. I'm sorry, she whispered, meeting his gaze. The panic and confusion she saw there made her ache. I was going to tell you Joe, for the first time since she knew him, Henry was staring at her as if she were a stranger. She winced at the look on his face, so full of pain and doubt. I have to fix this. She had only one option. She had to use the magic. Staggering to her feet, Josephine pushed her shoulders back, glared at the man in the overcoat. You're a fool if you think there's anything in the world that will convince me to give it to you. The amulet at her neck pulsated in anticipation. The master laughed. Just hand it over, girl. You have no leverage here. For emphasis, he dug the point of the knife into Henry's flesh. It was a shadow wound, but Henry's grunt of discomfort and the beads of blood that stained his shirt were almost enough to make Josephine lose her nerve. Steady, Joe. Stay steady. No amount of running and hiding will save you. The master's wicked grin was back, his eyes fixated on Josephine. I will hunt you to the ends of the earth, just like I hunted your father, until there's nothing left but pain and death. He spit on the ground. Be a good girl and give me what I want. Mustering all of her courage, Josephine held up her hand, palm out, magic spark between her fingertips. Let him go now. For the tiniest of seconds, Josephine swore she saw a flicker of panic flash in the master's eyes, but then it was gone. He sneered at her and yanked Henry to his feet. Don't be stupid, girl. Give me the book. No, Josephine screamed. A hysterical cry arose in her throat. The magic between her fingertips crackled like lightning. Let him go now. The master responded. Peal of laughter, cold and cruel, boomed across the trees, hitting Josephine like a slap in the face. Then, without pause, he took the dagger and sliced it across Henry's throat. No, she yells. It was as if time itself had stopped. Every part of her body was so welled as the light in Henry's eyes faded. As he sank to his knees, blood gushing from his wound. No, no, no. Her cruel mind began hurling the images at her. Her first glance at Henry's face, a stolen kiss among the trees, a dance underneath the moonlight, the feel of his fingertips tracing down her spine. I can't survive this. What was left of her heart splintered into 1,000 pieces, 1,000 wounds that would never heal. Take care of this. The master flicked his hand toward Henry's body, addressing the man who had spoken earlier. Then bring her to me. My lord, the man with the tattoos cocked his head at Josephine, who stood unmoving. He had a particular look on his face, a vile hunger in his eyes that made the master grin gleefully. You men have served me faithfully today, the master replied. Take your pleasure, then bring her to me. Maybe then she'll be willing to talk. He stalked back to his horse, mounted, and urged his steed forward. Josephine's shattered spirit flickered a little as she caught sight of his long overcoat whipping in the wind as he rode away, and disappeared into the shadows, the echo of his laughter on the breeze. Everything inside her was broken beyond repair. It was as if she had lost all her ability to move or speak. There was nothing but silence and emptiness. She swayed and almost fell, but a rough hand gripped her by the wrist and yanked her forward. The face in front of her was plain and covered with grime. The calculating, hungry eyes first roamed over her body, and then the hands followed. The face in front of her was plain and covered. I read that. Fight back, the tiny voice inside her head screamed at her, but it was her heart that was in control, or rather the aching hole where it had once been. Nothing but silence and emptiness. Please, Joe, fight back. The man's foul breath was hot on her skin, but she couldn't move. The tiniest of sparks ignited between her fingertips, but quickly fizzled. Only silence and emptiness. Over the man's shoulder, she saw two others walk over to Henry's body. One of them kicked at Henry's leg. The other chuckled. As he bent down to pick him up, something inside her snapped. A roar tore from her throat as fiery rage consumed her. She threw out her hands. The magic surged from her fingertips like bolts of lightning, ripping and shredding through the man holding her and the two next to Henry. The screams of the men mixed with the harsh wails of the horses. The ground rumbled from the stamping hooves as the panicked animals broke the formation and fled. The sky filled with crackling green light and a tangible of energy as she screamed, blasting man after man until not a single person was left standing. It was only then that the scream died on her lips. She lowered her hands, with tears pouring down her cheeks. Josephine crawled over to Henry's body. She called his name over and over as her fingers searched in vain for the rhythmic pulse in his neck. Desperate, she laid her head on his chest, praying the familiar beating would echo in her ears. There was nothing but silence. Crying bitterly, Josephine wept until her eyes began to ache, but that was nothing compared with the agony of her heart. I can't survive this. I can't survive this. I won't survive this. She stayed there, the dead of all around her, until the warmth had faded from Henry's skin. The overwhelming sorrow had knocked the very breath right out of her, but she managed to pull herself to her feet. She placed a shaky hand over her heart, trying to stop the hammering pain from crushing her. Goodbye, Henry, she whispered through her tears. Goodbye, my love. With tears pouring down her cheeks and the orange glow of the morning sun streaming through the trees, she began to run. Her emerald amulet hummed at her throat. And that was the end of chapter 12. This Henry guy was the love of Josephine's life. So the story is about magic. Everybody's wanting the book. Everybody's wanting the spell book. Everybody wants to take over these powers, but it was only meant for the one person, which was Josephine. It was about her and Henry in this chapter. And as being a writer, to me, when I read certain young adult fantasy books, it gives me ideas of how to create more characters and outline their personality with the characters I choose for certain books I read. To where I can't use the same characters here, I make up my own. Like, for instance, Lainey is one of my favorite characters in this book. I like Lainey. I like Styles. If I was to pick a character, because my next project book is going to be a fantasy, it's going to be a little magical. To where she uses Styles, I'll use the character as Miles. She used Lainey, I'll use the character as Rainy. You see, they kind of connect, match, but they're not the same character. You want to use your own characters for your own writing, or if you're writing a book, you want to come up and create your own characters for your story. And I get ideas for new authors, which is by Kim Chance, this book right here. It's giving me so much ideas outlining my characters. So I'm getting them ready for my next book, which is going to be fantasy. Y'all stay tuned to that one. It's in the works. Right now I'm basically, like I said, outlining, coming up with my characters. I get all of them lined up. And I also learn, instead of trying to write your story from the beginning, you don't have to always list it and start at the beginning. You can start from the middle and work your way around it. That will actually help create your story more. And you can like play around. It's like a puzzle. It fit in all the other pieces it needs to fit in there before you actually really get the flow, of your writing. The next chapter 13, it's going on to a little deeper. It's going back to the character Lainey. Lainey's one of my characters. Maggie, I love both of them. This book is just getting more deeper, and it's just exciting. It's kind of heartbroken, but it's very powerful. Josephine, all the strength she had, the woman was strong. She got broken down. Her family got murdered. It mentioned that in the other couple of chapters, and she got her revenge. And if you miss a lot of this story, you can go back to some of the other videos when I first started reading The Keeper and started doing story time on Fridays. It's a very good book. If you're a writer, or there's a certain special book that you're reading this year, feel free to comment below and let me know what book you're writing about or what book you're reading. I like to connect with other people that's also just writers like me. We get to know each other. We get to see what some weaknesses you have in your writing, or the good things and good goals you have also in your writing. It helps us as writers continue growing when we all connect with each other. I have been very sick this past week, getting over a sinus cold. Usually don't take me that long, and I ain't been sick all year, all summer. First time I've been sick all summer. Now I'm just battling a cough, trying to get rid of that. But other than that, I'm great. I'm getting back stronger. And it's good to be back on my channel. And you all that's been following me for some time now, I appreciate you. And if you got people on your channel and you like to send them my way to check out my channel, feel free to do so. And that way, we all help each other grow on each other's channel as well. Right now, I'm going to do a little discussion about being positive. how to keep our minds being opened. A lot of people say they're positive, but a lot of times it jumps around. They be positive, then it goes to negative. You got to do things. Find people that's happy, that supports you. Be around people that lifts you up and that don't bring you down. That's number one important thing. Number two, observe who's in your circle. Observe what you got in common with the people that's in your circle. Get out and do things. Enjoy nature. Reopen your senses again. If you have a garden, you got friends or aunts or someone that's got green thumbs, they got a lot of flowers in their garden, go out there and smell them and learn from your senses what the smell are, what each flower is. What does the sense tell you that flower means? What is it? How does it make you feel? For example, you in a field of lavender. What does lavender make you feel like? It kind of calms you, it relaxes you, does it not? A lot of people go out and I like to use sometimes lavender candles, um, certain bubble baths you can use to help relax you. It's like therapy. It relaxes you, it calms you. And most of all, learn to love yourself. Get to know who you are. If you don't, it's not all about the outside of that person. It's about who you are on the inside. When you get to learn who you are on the inside, everything on the outside is going to show. It's going to flourish. It's going to flow, and other people's going to see that. They're going to feed off that good energy. Even if you're having a bad day, some of that energy is going to come flow your way. I do a lot of sending love and light to people. A lot of people's down, struggling with something in their lives. Something's not going the way they want it to. Don't give up. There's a will, there's a way. If one door closes, go through another door. Keep searching. Keep going through them doors till you find what you're looking for. And you will grow. And you will prosper. I hope you enjoyed my story, Keeper. The magic always leaves a mark. And if you have already ordered this book and read it through, congrats to you. Now you need to get the book Seeker. Seeker is the sequel to Keeper, and it come out September 10th. You all should order that book and check it out. I'll be getting mine soon. Another thing that helps you to be more positive, setting goals. If you don't have certain goals set in life, where are you going to go? What do you want to do? What draws you? What things that you have passion for? What does your gut tell you to do? Follow it. Trust it. See where it goes. If it's traveling, being a writer like me, whatever it may be, follow your heart, follow your dreams, and you'll get there. If you'd like me to read another chapter, feel free to comment. Make sure you all hit the like button when you come in. This book's getting deep, but it's making more sense. It's very mysterious. It's got mystery behind it. Chapter 13. We'll read another chapter. We have time. If you have time, I have the time. When I opened my eyes, a familiar face was staring worriedly back at me. It took several seconds for me to realize I was back in the graveyard with Ty's arms wrapped protectively around me. Laney, Ty whispered, his eyebrows furrowed. Ty, I whispered back. Then I burst into tears. Ty's arms tightened around me, and I laid my head against his chest. Beneath my cheek, his heartbeat was fast but sure. I closed my eyes and let the stable rhythm soothe me. When my tears had dried up, I pulled back suddenly, very aware of the way our bodies were pressed together. My ears burned. I I took a quick step back, looking down at my feet as I maneuvered out of his arms. My entire face felt like it was on fire. I'm I'm sorry, Lanny. Another voice called from over Ty's shoulder. Maggie's pale face popped into view, and I lounged myself at her. Oh my God, Styles, you scared the crap out of me. Are you okay? I pulled away and wiped my face with the back of my hand. No, not really. Maggie's arms tightened around me, and I snuck a quick glance at Ty. He had one hand resting on the back of his neck, and he looked confused. One minute we standing there talking, and the next you disappeared. Maggie's eyes were wide, and she was shaking. We heard you screaming, but we couldn't get to you. The trees, she shook her head, as if the words were too shocking to say. It's okay, you can say it. The trees attacked me, I said as a hysterical giggle bubbled up in my throat. I think I'm going into shock. It's We need to get you out of here, Ty said, reading my mind. Think you can walk? I nodded and allowed Ty and Maggie to guide me back toward the parking lot. Why don't you let me drive? Ty suggested. Neither Maggie nor I argued. Maggie's car was parked near the street underneath the soft glow of the streetlight. When we were safely inside, I in the passenger seat and Maggie in the back, Ty turned the car on and cranked the heat on high. I didn't even realize how cold I was until the warm air came blasting through the vents. Here, Ty said softly, retrieving the leather jacket I still hadn't returned from the back seat. I took it, looping my arms through the sleeves and pulling it around myself. Nice jacket, Ty murmured, the crooked smile on his lips. Despite my frame of mind, I cracked a smile at the joke, but then my face crumbled, and I clamped my hand over my mouth to stop the cry that was building in my throat. I squeezed my eyes shut and let the panic pulsate through me. I waited for my heartbeat to slow before I opened my eyes again. Did you see her? I managed to whisper. Who's Josephine? Maggie leaned forward. Was it her? I mean the tree? No, I shook my head. She was trying to warn me, and I think she saved me. The green light, it was her, wasn't it? Maggie shook her head. I don't know. I looked over at Ty. I guess I owe you an explanation. You don't owe me anything. I just want to make sure you're okay. I sighed. I wish I were. I took a deep breath and glanced back at Maggie, who was uncharacteristically quiet. Mags, it's up to you, Styles. She took a deep breath and gave me a small smile. But the dude just saw a tree come to life and attacked you. He might as well have the whole story. I nodded, and before I had a chance to talk myself out of it, I blurted out the whole damn story. The attacks, the visions, the necklace, everything. Ty watched me as I spoke, his face unreadable. And you don't have any idea who Josephine is or why she keeps appearing? He asked when I finished. I had no idea. I thought she was trying to hurt me. But after tonight, we've been doing research. Maggie piped up from the back, but there's nothing to find. We don't have a whole lot to go on. Her voice sounded as deflated as I felt. And now there's this thing with the tree. She bit down on her bottom lip. Can we all agree that did in fact happen? Because I'm starting to question my own sanity here. It happened all right, I said, chewing on my bottom lip. The pain in my body was proof. I have no idea what to do. I looked over at Ty. You think we're crazy, don't you? Not at all. His voice was soft but certain. So you're telling me that some girl you barely know just told you she's seeing ghosts and getting attacked by evil trees? And you're not even the slightest bit skeptical? Ty shrugged. Not everything in this world makes sense. That certainly wasn't the answer I expected. I stared at him for a moment, not sure what to think. Well, thanks for what you did, helping me back there. You saved my life. Remember, he gave me a half smile. I figured I owed you one. Besides, it's not every day I get to hold a pretty girl in my arms, even if she's screaming in my face. A flush warmed my cheeks. Sorry about that. Ty waved his hand. No apologizing. Aside from a few claw marks, I came out relatedly unscratched. Claw marks? Ty smiled sheepishly and pulled at the hem of his shirt. His lower abdomen was covered in angry red lines. Holy crap, Kitten Styles. Maggie's head bobbed between the seats. You put my cat to shame, and that's saying something. Frodo Flupkins is as ordinary as they come. Oh my God. I covered my face with my hands. I'm so sorry. No apologies, remember? Ty pulled his t-shirt back down in place. It's nothing. I've had worse, and trust me, some of the guys at the gym had way longer nails than you. He's trying to make me laugh. I cracked a tiny smile. So what do we do now? Maggie asked. I mean, that was some freaky shit back there. We need to come up with some kind of plan, I said. Even though every inch of my body was throbbing and achy, I wanted to go home and go to bed more than anything. But now more than ever, we needed answers. Plucking a leaf out of my hair, I pulled down the visor, to open the compact mirror. I probably looked as awful as I felt. I was right. My eye makeup was running down my face in black streaks, smudges of dirt mixed with ruined makeup, and my skin was pale and splotchy. Yikes, I muttered, leaning forward to wipe away some of the grime. Then I gasped, it's your imagination, Flanny. Just your mind playing tricks on you. My mind began rationalizing away my fear, but as I stared at my reflection, I knew something was wrong. Ty, I said, trying to stay as calm as possible. Can you turn the light on, please? A soft yellow light filled the car. I sucked in a ragged breath. My fears were confirmed. I turned slowly to Ty, my whole body trembling again. Laney, what is it? Ty asked, his face a stone mask. Styles, Maggie was leaning forward, her hand on my shoulder. What's wrong? My eyes, I answered, my voice no stronger than a whisper. It is my eyes. I tried again, my voice a little stronger this time. Ty was clearly confused. I don't. What color are they? I interrupted, shouting this time. I looked in the mirror again, refusing to believe it. But the proof was right in front of me. Ty, what color are they? I snapped my head back to face him again. He stared at me, his hands held up in front of him, but slowly. He leaned forward, his own eyes narrowing in dim car light. He exhaled slowly. They're green. Green. I dropped my head to my chest and tried to keep from hyperventilating. Behind me, Maggie was making little noises of shock as though she were trying to speak but couldn't. Laney. Ty gripped my arm in concern he didn't understand. I raised my head. Are you sure? I whispered, staring at the foreign arises in the mirror. I turned back to Ty. What color are they? But the look on Ty's face was clear. There was no mistake. My once golden hazel eyes were now a vibrant shade of green. And y'all can figure out what's about to happen there on the next chapter, chapter 14. Her eyes is now green. Y'all can feel free to comment what you think is going on from these past 2 chapters I read. If you're really here, comment. If you're not a bot, hit the like button. It's showing one person watching. Don't be shy. Say a friendly hello. If you don't have a channel, it gets easier. You get more confident once you practice doing your own videos and all. You really get more into it. I'm telling you, this story's kind of creepy, but it's exciting and spooky and twisted all at the same time and magical. That's exactly what this book's about. Stay tuned for next Friday on The Keeper, and we'll be on chapter 14. I will try to make it next Friday. We never know what happens between now and next week. But just, make sure you hit the like button you come in, you comment. And if you like my story time on Fridays or like my channel at all, if anything on my channel speaks to you or helps you in some way, inspires you, feel free to click that red button, subscribe button. And don't forget to click on that bell so you don't miss other live stream and videos to come. It's been an exciting week for me, other than having this cold. But I'm getting better. I'm getting stronger. And I hope y'all are well. You're not battling no colds or discomforts. You got good health. And just like to say, I love reading. I love to be a writer. I love inspiring people. And I urge you all to get a copy of this book. You can order it off of Indie Books, Amazon, Kindle. I got mine off of Amazon. It's actually her first edition. When she first got them out, she had some kind of thing, the author, Kim Chance, did. And she wanted the copy. She accidentally, I think, sold her first edition copy and wanted a first edition copy back. And those who responded, she would sign her name to it. Her autograph would be inside of it. But I was too late to actually answer that. But I do have one of the copies of her first edition. So that makes it special. And I do like this book. I love the cover, how it's designed. She put a lot of work into it. Her theme, the magic always leaves a mark. It says it itself. It describes the title of the whole book and everything. This is Lainey right here. Is the description of her as the character. She uses characters from other stars, certain series. It's what give her ideas of the character she used for her book. And you all go check out Kim Chance's YouTube. She has a Facebook. She has a like a book reading club thing. I'm signed in on all that. I do watch her regularly. She's awesome. Check out her best friend. She's also awesome. Yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away. Don't be shy. Yeah. And that'll be that. I hope y'all have a great Friday and a weekend. Sending love and light to each of you. Take care. Bye.